The frozen winds of Kepler 442b howled across the crystalline landscape, carrying with them the bite of a world that had never known warmth. Marcus Chen pulled his thermal suit tighter as he trudged through the knee-deep snow, his breath forming clouds that instantly crystallized and fell like tiny diamonds to the ground. The mining colony of New Geneva stretched behind him, its domed structures glowing like amber beacons against the perpetual twilight of this distant world. He shouldn't be out here alone. Colony regulations were clear about solo excursions beyond the perimeter, especially during the storm season. But the automated mineral scanners had detected an unusual energy signature 3 kilometers northeast of the main settlement, and Marcus had never been one to let curiosity go unsatisfied. As the colony's chief xenobiologist, he'd spent the better part of 5 years studying this harsh world, documenting its sparse ecosystem and the peculiar crystalline organisms that somehow thrived in temperatures that would freeze human blood in seconds. The energy signature pulsed stronger on his scanner as he crested a ridge of black stone that jutted from the snow like the spine of some long-dead leviathan. What he saw in the valley below made him stop in his tracks, his heart hammering against his ribs. There, huddled against the base of a massive ice formation, was a German shepherd. Her dark coat was matted with ice crystals and her body shook with violent tremors. But that wasn't what made Marcus's breath catch in his throat. Pressed against her belly, whimpering softly in the alien wind, were 3 tiny puppies. Impossible, Marcus whispered, his voice lost in the howling gale. Dogs didn't exist on Kepler 442b. Hell, Earth animals didn't exist anywhere outside of their home system except in carefully controlled environments. The nearest human settlement with Earth fauna was 12 parsecs away, and there hadn't been a ship arrival in over 8 months. He activated his comm unit, but static filled his earpiece. The storm was interfering with communications back to the colony. Marcus was on his own and time was running out. Even through his scanner's thermal imaging, he could see the mother dog's life signs weakening. The puppies were even worse off, their tiny bodies losing the battle against the merciless cold. Marcus descended into the valley, his boots crunching through the snow. As he approached, the German shepherd lifted her head, her dark eyes meeting his through the swirling ice. She didn't growl or bark. Instead, she whimpered, a sound so full of desperation and hope that it cut through Marcus like a blade. She knew he was her only chance. "Easy, girl," Marcus said softly, though his words were nearly swallowed by the wind. "I'm here to help." He knelt beside the small family, his mind racing. His thermal suit's emergency protocols included provisions for hypothermia victims, but those were designed for humans. The suit's heating elements could be redistributed, and his emergency shelter could provide temporary protection, but it would mean sacrificing his own safety margin. If something went wrong, if the storm lasted longer than predicted, he might not make it back to the colony. The mother dog nudged one of her puppies toward Marcus with her nose. The tiny creature was barely moving, its breathing shallow and rapid. Marcus had seen enough hypothermia cases to know that time was measured in minutes, not hours. Without hesitation, he began unsealing his thermal suit. The cold hit him like a physical blow, but he ignored it, carefully lifting the puppies and placing them against his chest, inside the suit's warming layers. The mother dog watched his every movement, her eyes reflecting an intelligence that seemed almost human in its depth. "You're not from around here, are you?" Marcus murmured as he worked. "Question is, how did you get here?" His scanner detected movement in the distance, but the storm made it impossible to identify. It could have been a thermal updraft distorting the readings, or it could have been something else entirely. Marcus had learned not to take chances on Kepler 442b. This world held secrets that humanity was only beginning to understand. The emergency shelter deployed with a soft hiss, its polymer walls expanding to create a small dome around them. The heating elements kicked in immediately, and Marcus felt the blessed warmth begin to drive back the killing cold. The mother dog dragged herself inside, her movements weak but determined. As the shelter's atmosphere stabilized, Marcus got his first clear look at their unexpected visitors. The German shepherd was clearly purebred, her markings traditional and well-defined despite the ice matted in her fur. The puppies couldn't be more than a few weeks old, their eyes still closed, their tiny bodies trembling with each breath. But there was something else, something that made the xenobiologist in Marcus take notice. Beneath the ice crystals on the mother dog's collar, he could see what looked like writing. Not human writing. The symbols were geometric, flowing, unlike anything in Earth's databases. "Where did you come from?" he whispered, gently cleaning the ice from the collar. The symbols seemed to pulse with a faint luminescence, almost like they were alive. The scanner's energy signature suddenly spiked, and Marcus realized that the source he'd been tracking wasn't geological at all. It was coming from the color. Whatever technology created those symbols was unlike anything humanity had encountered in their expansion across the stars. A new sound reached his ears over the wind, a low, harmonic vibration that seemed to come from the very air around them. The mother dog lifted her head, her ears perked, and for the first time since he'd found them, she seemed alert rather than resigned to death. Something was coming through the storm, and Marcus had the growing certainty that his simple rescue mission was about to become something far more complex. The energy readings on his scanner were climbing toward levels that shouldn't be possible on a world with no apparent technology. He checked the charge on his emergency beacon and made a decision that would change everything. Whatever was happening here, whatever brought a German shepherd and her puppies to a frozen world 12 parsecs from the nearest human settlement, the colony needed to know about it. Marcus activated the beacon and settled in to wait, the warm weight of the puppies against his chest reminding him that sometimes the most important discoveries came disguised as simple acts of compassion. The harmonic vibration grew stronger, resonating through the emergency shelter's walls like the heartbeat of some vast creature. Marcus felt it in his bones, a frequency that seemed to bypass his ears entirely and speak directly to his nervous system. The German shepherd's ears twitched with each pulse, and her puppies had stopped whimpering, as if the sound brought them comfort. Through the shelter's transparent aluminum window, Marcus watched shapes moving in the storm. They weren't random formations of wind and ice. These moved with purpose, with intelligence. Tall, graceful forms that seemed to glide rather than walk, their outlines barely visible through the swirling snow. His scanner went wild, displaying readings that violated everything Marcus knew about this planet. Energy signatures that pulsed in complex patterns. Thermal readings that suggested technology far beyond human capabilities, and most disturbing of all, biosignatures that registered as both artificial and organic simultaneously. The mother dog lifted her head and released a sound Marcus had never heard from any Earth canine, a melodic whine that seemed to match the harmonic frequency surrounding them. One of the shapes outside the shelter paused, then moved closer with sudden urgency. Marcus's hand instinctively moved to the emergency sidearm at his belt, but something in the dog's behavior stopped him. She wasn't afraid. If anything, she seemed relieved, as if help had finally arrived. The puppies stirred against his chest, their tiny bodies warming under his thermal suit. The shape outside resolved into something that made Marcus question his sanity. It was humanoid, but wrong in subtle ways that triggered every primitive alarm in his brain. Too tall, joints that bent at impossible angles, and skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. When it knelt beside the shelter, Marcus saw eyes that held the depth of ancient oceans and intelligence that predated human civilization by eons. The being's mouth didn't move, but Marcus heard words in his mind, not as sound, but as pure meaning that bypassed language entirely. The guardian singer lives. "You have done well, Earthchild." Marcus's throat went dry. "Guardian singer? You mean the dog? She carries the young ones of our bond pact. Lost in the cold time when the ship nest fell from sky roads. We searched through many turning cycles. The pieces began forming a picture that challenged everything Marcus thought he knew about first contact protocols. This wasn't humanity's first encounter with alien intelligence. It was his first realization that such contact had already occurred. Somehow, somewhere involving Earth's animals. "How long have you been in contact with Earth?" Marcus asked aloud, though he somehow knew the being would understand regardless of language barriers. Time measurement differs between nest minds. Your sun cycles, many thousands. Agreement bond made when your kind first reached for star roads. Exchange of knowledge, of trust building. The shelter's entrance dilated as another being approached, this one carrying what looked like a medical scanner crafted from living crystal. The German shepherd's tail wagged weakly, and she tried to rise to greet the newcomer. The being's mental voice carried warmth that felt like sunlight on Marcus's consciousness. "Peace, guardian singer. Rest while young ones grow strong. Marcus watched in amazement as the crystal scanner passed over the mother dog and her puppies. Holographic displays appeared in the air, showing biological data in symbols that somehow made sense to him despite being completely alien. The technology was analyzing not just their physical condition, but something deeper, their emotional state, their bond with each other, even their dreams. "Why dogs?" Marcus asked. "Why not contact governments or scientists or... Your leaders think in territory claims and power over others. Guardian singers think in pack bond and care for weak. They chose themselves as bridge builders." The implications hit Marcus like a physical blow. Humanity's first and most important diplomatic relationship hadn't been forged by politicians or military leaders. It had been established by dogs, creatures whose capacity for loyalty, courage, and unconditional love had apparently impressed a species advanced enough to cross interstellar space. The second being produced what looked like a feeding tube filled with luminescent fluid. The mother dog lapped at it eagerly, and within moments her shivering stopped. Her coat began to regain its luster, and strength returned to her movements. The puppies whined and rooted against her, seeking warmth and nourishment. "She will recover. Young ones will grow strong, but there is concerned thought in the nest minds." What kind of concern? Images flooded Marcus's mind, not words, but direct experience. He saw the crash of an alien vessel during Kepler 442b's last storm season, beings working frantically to save their cargo before the ship's systems failed. And among that cargo, dozens of Earth animals, dogs, cats, horses, even birds, all part of some vast cultural exchange program that humanity's governments apparently knew nothing about. Most had been rescued, but the guardian singer and her unborn litter had been lost in the chaos. The aliens had searched for months, their technology hampered by the same ionic storms that disrupted human communications. "We did not expect Earthchild to venture into cold death for guardian singer. Your kind usually considers bond duty only to your own species." Marcus looked down at the puppies nestled against his chest, feeling their tiny heartbeats through his thermal suit. "You don't know humans very well if you think that. We've been bonding with animals for thousands of years. Dogs especially. They're family." The first being's mental voice carried what Marcus interpreted as surprise, even wonder. Family bond extends beyond species barrier, even to creatures of different world origin? Especially to them. Dogs have been our companions since before we developed agriculture. They're not just animals to us, they're partners, friends, protectors. Some people love their dogs more than other humans. The two aliens exchanged glances, and Marcus felt the weight of their combined attention. He was being evaluated, measured by standards he couldn't begin to understand. The outcome of this conversation might determine not just the fate of the German Shepherd and her puppies, but the entire relationship between their species. This changes understanding patterns. Council of Nests believed humans kept guardian singers as property things, as your kind does with growing plants and food beasts. "No," Marcus said firmly. "Dogs choose to be with us just as much as we choose to be with them. It's a partnership built on mutual respect and love." One of the puppies yawned, revealing tiny white teeth and stretched against Marcus's ribs. The simple, innocent gesture seemed to captivate both aliens completely. "Show us," came the mental request. "Show us this bond truth." Marcus realized that this moment would define humanity's future among the stars, not through military might or technological achievement, but through the simple, profound connection between species that Earth had perfected over millennia. He gently lifted one of the puppies, supporting its tiny head as he'd seen countless dog owners do. The puppy muzzled against his palm, seeking warmth and comfort from a creature it had never seen before but somehow trusted completely. The alien's wonder was palpable, filling the shelter with an emotional resonance that brought tears to Marcus's eyes. The storm began to subside as more beings emerged from the swirling snow. Marcus counted at least 12 of them, their graceful forms moving in coordinated patterns that suggested a complex social hierarchy. Each carried different crystalline instruments, and their combined presence created a harmony of mental voices that filled the shelter with alien music. The German Shepherd had recovered enough to sit upright, her maternal instincts sharp as she watched the aliens examine her puppies. Her eyes never left Marcus, as if she designated him as part of her pack's protective circle. When one of the beings moved too close to the smallest puppy, she issued a low, Warning growl that made several aliens step back in apparent surprise. Guardian Singer claims protection right over Earthchild. Observed the first being Marcus had encountered. This was not documented in previous observations. Marcus felt a surge of pride that probably showed on his face. She's accepting me into her pack. It's one of the highest honors a dog can give. She trusts me to help protect her babies. The aliens' mental voices buzzed with rapid communication too fast for Marcus to follow, but he caught fragments, debates about pack dynamics, questions about interspecies bonding, and something that felt like scholarly excitement. He was witnessing what might be the galaxy's first xenosociological breakthrough. Council of Nests must witness this directly, came a new mental voice, deeper and more resonant than the others. A being approached who was clearly different from the rest. Older, with skin that carried patterns of light like flowing script across its surface. I am Harmony Keeper Veshtai. I speak for the Nest Collective on this world. Marcus inclined his head respectfully. Marcus Chen, xenobiologist for the New Geneva colony. I'm honored to meet you, Harmony Keeper. Your colony nest knows nothing of our presence, yet you show proper respect forms. How is this possible? Where I come from, we believe that intelligence deserves respect regardless of its form. You've clearly been caring for animals from my world, which means you understand compassion. That makes you worthy of honor in my book. The Harmony Keeper's patterns of light shifted to what Marcus instinctively recognized as approval. Book knowledge and heart knowledge often diverge. You speak with heart knowledge. The smallest puppy had begun to whimper, and without thinking, Marcus adjusted his position to give it better access to warmth. The mother dog's tail thumped once against the shelter floor. Approval and gratitude combined in a single gesture that needed no translation. Observe, Veshetai communicated to the gathered beings. Earthchild modifies comfort position without conscious thought. Pack bond operates below awareness level. It's instinctive, Marcus explained. When you care about something, you automatically adjust to meet its needs. Parents do it for children, partners do it for each other, and yes, humans do it for dogs. But Guardian Singer is not human child. Different species, different world origin, different thought patterns, yet care response remains identical. Marcus looked down at the puppy nestled against his ribs, then back at the assembled aliens. That's what makes the bond so special. It transcends species barriers. Dogs don't just serve us or obey us. They become part of our families. We mourn them when they die, celebrate their achievements, worry about their health. They do the same for us. To demonstrate, Marcus gently scratched behind the mother dog's ears. Her eyes closed in contentment, and she leaned into his touch with complete trust. The gesture seemed to electrify the aliens, their light patterns flickering rapidly as they exchanged excited commentary. In all our travels among star roads, we have not witnessed such bond formation between different life patterns, Veshtai admitted. Your species possesses unique capacity. Actually, I think you're wrong about that, Marcus said carefully. He gestured toward the aliens' careful attention to the puppy's welfare, the obvious concern in their mental voices when discussing the German Shepherd's health. You've clearly formed bonds with these animals too. Why else would you search for months to find them? The assembled beings fell silent, their light patterns dimming to barely visible flickers. Marcus sensed he'd touched on something significant, perhaps even controversial among their kind. Truth speaking, Veshtai finally acknowledged. Initial contact was for knowledge exchange only. Guardian Singers were to be studied, catalogued, returned to Origin World. But they chose us as pack members. Another alien interjected, its mental voice carrying what Marcus recognized as wonder. They offered loyalty bond without conditions, protection instinct even toward our young forms. Marcus nodded, understanding flooding through him. Dogs don't just accept commands from authority figures. They choose their pack leaders based on trust, consistency, and care. If they've bonded with you, it's because you've proven worthy of their loyalty. The mother dog's ears perked up at the sound of approaching vehicles in the distance. Marcus's emergency beacon had finally reached the colony through the thinning storm. Soon his fellow humans would arrive to find him in the middle of first contact with an alien species, mediated by a German Shepherd and her 3 puppies. Colony nest approaches, Veshtai observed. What will you tell them of this encounter? Marcus considered carefully. The implications were staggering, not just for his colony, but for all of humanity. Earth's animals had apparently been serving as unofficial ambassadors to alien civilizations for years, possibly decades. The relationships they'd built could determine humanity's future among the stars. The truth, he said finally, that we found each other through compassion, and that our species have more in common than we ever imagined. The smallest puppy had fallen asleep against his chest, its tiny body warm and trusting. The simple weight of it reminded Marcus of every profound moment in human history. Discoveries that changed everything, first steps into the unknown, connections that bridged impossible gulfs. Your nest mates will accept this truth-speaking, Veshtai asked. They'll have to. Besides, Marcus smiled, gently stroking the puppy's soft fur. They'll have some very persuasive advocates to help convince them. The German shepherd lifted her head and looked directly at Veshtai, her dark eyes carrying an intelligence that seemed almost human. Almost, but not quite, because what she possessed was something uniquely canine, the ability to build bridges between worlds through nothing more complex than unconditional love and unwavering loyalty. Guardian Singer speaks truth patterns, Veshtai acknowledged. Perhaps Council of Nests has much to learn from Earthbonds. The approaching vehicles grew louder, their headlights beginning to pierce the dying storm. Marcus realized that in a matter of minutes everything would change, not just for his colony, not just for Earth, but for the entire galactic community that humanity was about to officially join. And it had all started with a simple choice to help a mother protect her babies from the cold. Dr. Sarah Okafor brought the lead vehicle to a halt 50 meters from the emergency shelter, her scientific training warring with the evidence of her own eyes. The thermal scanners showed multiple large biosignatures arranged in a defensive perimeter around Marcus's position. But the shapes moving through the diminishing storm defied every classification protocol she knew. Command, this is Rescue Team 1, she spoke into her comm unit. We've got Marcus's emergency beacon, but we have a situation here that requires immediate xenological consultation. Colony Director Kim Reese's voice crackled through the static. Define situation. Dr. Okafor. Sarah watched one of the alien beings approach her vehicle with movements that seemed to flow rather than walk. Its crystalline instruments caught the vehicle's headlights and threw rainbow patterns across the snow. We are not alone out here, Director, and I don't think we ever have been. Inside the shelter, Marcus felt the tension ratchet up as human voices reached them through the comm channels. The mother dog's ears swiveled toward the approaching rescue team and she whined softly, not in fear but in recognition. Somehow she understood that more members of Marcus's species were arriving. Your packmates carry fear scent, observed Veshtai, the alien's light patterns shifting to muted tones. Do they approach with harm intent? No, Marcus assured him quickly. They're afraid because they don't understand what they're seeing. Humans have been looking for signs of alien life for centuries. Finding it tends to make us nervous until we know whether you come in peace. Peace concepts differ among species groups, another alien noted. How do Earth minds define peace intent? Marcus considered the question while gently adjusting the puppies in his thermal suit. Usually through non-threatening gestures, open communication, and mutual respect. But honestly, the fact that you've been caring for our animals for years is probably the best peace offering you could have made. The German shepherd stood and moved to the shelter's entrance, her body language alert but not aggressive. When Dr. Okafor approached the shelter, the dog's tail began to wag, the universal canine signal of friendly intent. Sarah stopped dead in her tracks. Marcus, is that a German shepherd? On Kepler 442b? It's a long story, Sarah, but yes, and she's got 3 puppies. They were dying when I found them. Marcus carefully opened the shelter's entrance, allowing his colleague to see inside. Meet our unofficial first contact team. The sight that greeted Dr. Okafor challenged every assumption she'd made about this rescue mission. Marcus sat cross-legged in the center of the shelter, 3 tiny puppies nestled against his chest, while their mother stood guard beside him. But surrounding the shelter, clearly visible through the transparent walls, were beings that could only be described as magnificently alien. They've been searching for the dogs for months, Marcus explained as Sarah knelt beside the shelter opening. The dog's collar has some kind of translation technology. They call her a guardian singer. Sarah extended her hand toward the German shepherd, who sniffed cautiously before allowing the contact. The moment Sarah's fingers touched the dog's fur, one of the aliens stepped forward and spoke directly into her mind. packmate of Marcus Chen shows proper greeting forms to Guardian Singer. You share bond understanding. Sarah jerked backward, nearly losing her balance. Did that thing just speak in my head? Telepathic communication, Marcus confirmed. But they only seem to do it when Earth animals are present. I think the dogs are serving as some kind of psychic bridge. To test his theory, Marcus gently lifted one of the puppies and held it where both humans and aliens could see. The tiny creature yawned and stretched, completely unaware of its cosmic significance. Immediately, several aliens stepped closer, their mental voices becoming clearer and more distinct. Young one shows no fear signs toward different species, Veshtai observed. Bond formation begins at earliest life stage. Dr. Okafor's scientific mind raced through the implications. Marcus, if dogs have been facilitating first contact, there should be records somewhere. Communication logs, anomalous animal behavior reports, unexplained technological advances. I think there are, Marcus said slowly. Think about how much Earth's veterinary science has advanced in the past 50 years. New treatments, diagnostic tools, even the genetic therapies that eliminated most hereditary diseases in domestic animals. What if that wasn't just human innovation? The mother dog padded over to Dr. Okafor and pressed her head against the scientist's leg, a clear request for attention. As Sarah scratched behind the dog's ears, images began flowing into her mind. Vast ships among the stars, beings of light and crystal working alongside humans in environments that shouldn't have been survivable, and everywhere dogs serving as companions, translators, and bridges between worlds. Guardian Singers chose to join Star Road journeys when your kind first left Birth World, Veshtai explained. Voluntary participation in knowledge exchange programs. Many nest worlds now host Earth animals as cultural ambassadors. Cultural ambassadors, Sarah repeated numbly. Our dogs are cultural ambassadors to alien civilizations. The smallest puppy began to whimper, and without thinking, Sarah scooped it up and cradled it against her thermal suit. The gesture seemed to delight the watching aliens, their light patterns brightening considerably. Two Earth minds show identical care responses to Guardian Singer young ones. Noted an alien Sarah hadn't heard before. Species-wide behavioral pattern confirmed. Dr. Okafor looked up at Marcus, her expression shifting from shock to wonder. We're being evaluated, aren't we? They're testing whether humans as a species are worthy of, what? Membership in some kind of galactic community? Not testing, Veshtai corrected gently. Learning. Guardian Singers spoke truth patterns about Earth-kind compassion capacity, but Council of Nests required direct observation. The German shepherd's collar began to pulse with soft light, and suddenly Sarah could understand the alien communications as clearly as if they spoke her native language. The technology wasn't just translating words, it was conveying concepts, emotions, even cultural context. Translation bridge is now stable, Veshtai announced. Dr. Sarah Okafor, you are welcomed by the Harmony Collective as friend to Guardian Singers. The honor is mine, Sarah replied, surprised to find herself speaking aloud while simultaneously projecting the thoughts telepathically. But I have to ask, how long have you been watching us? Observation cycles began when first Earthship reached Star Roads. Your kind showed promise but also danger potential. Guardian Singers volunteered to serve as character witnesses. Marcus felt the weight of revelation settling on his shoulders. They've been judging us this entire time. Our worthiness to join whatever galactic civilization exists out there has been determined by how we treat our animals. The mother dog settled beside both humans, her presence somehow making the shelter feel less like a temporary refuge and more like a meeting place between worlds. Her puppies squirmed and nestled closer to the warmth provided by their human guardians, creating a tableau that seemed to captivate the aliens completely. Guardian Singer demonstrates trust bond formation in real time, observed another alien. Earth minds accepted into pack structure without hesitation. Dr. Okafor's comm unit crackled with increasingly urgent messages from the colony. Director Reese wanted status updates, location coordinates, and explanations for the anomalous readings their sensors were detecting. But Sarah found herself reluctant to break the spell of this moment. What happens now? She asked Veshtai. Do we go back to pretending this never happened? Or is humanity finally ready for the truth about our place in the galaxy? That choice belongs to Guardian Singers, Veshtai replied. The aliens' attention focused on the mother dog. They chose Earthkind as worthy bonds. Now they must choose whether Earthkind is ready for larger bond community. The German Shepherd lifted her head and looked directly at each human in turn, her dark eyes reflecting an intelligence that seemed to span species and worlds. Then she walked to the shelter entrance and barked once, clear, strong, and unmistakably decisive. "Guardian Singer has spoken," Veshetai announced with what Marcus could only interpret as satisfaction. "Earthkind will be welcomed among the Star Roads." The New Geneva colony's main dome buzzed with activity that had nothing to do with the usual routines of mining operations. Within 6 hours of the rescue team's return, every off-duty colonist had found an excuse to visit the medical bay where the German Shepherd and her puppies were recovering. Word had spread faster than containment protocols could manage. They were no longer alone in the universe, and their introduction to galactic civilization had 4 legs and a wagging tail. Director Kim Reese stood in the medical bay's observation room, watching through reinforced glass as colonist after colonist knelt beside the makeshift whelping box to gently pet the mother dog and marvel at her puppies. The aliens, the Harmony Collective as they called themselves, had provided a portable life support system that maintained perfect environmental conditions for the canine family. "It changes everything," Reese said quietly to Marcus and Dr. Okafor. "Not just first contact, but the entire framework of how we understand our place in the galaxy. We've been judged by beings we didn't even know existed, and our dogs have been our advocates." Marcus nodded, his attention divided between the conversation and one of the puppies that had somehow escaped the whelping box and was now attempting to chew on his bootlace. According to Harmony Keeper Veshetai, there are over 200 species in their collective. Earth animals have been present on dozens of worlds, serving as ambassadors, companions, even cultural consultants. Cultural consultants? Reese raised an eyebrow. Dr. Okafor activated a holographic display that showed data the aliens had shared. "They've been studying human social dynamics through our relationships with domestic animals. Pack behavior, loyalty structures, empathy responses, even our concepts of unconditional love. Apparently, these traits are extremely rare among galactic civilizations." The medical bay's doors opened to admit Chief Engineer Paula Santos, who had been coordinating communications with the Harmony Collective's ship in orbit. Her expression mixed awe with professional concern. "Director, we have a problem. The Collective's ship is massive, roughly the size of Manhattan, and it's been sitting in our outer system for the past 3 months. Our sensors never detected it." "Stealth technology?" Marcus asked. "More like they exist partially outside normal spacetime. The technical briefings they're providing are—" Santos paused, searching for words. "Let's just say our understanding of physics just got very humbling." The mother dog, who the aliens had named Song of Distant Stars, but whom the colonists had simply started calling Stella, lifted her head as 3 new beings materialized in the medical bay. Not walked in, not arrived via transport, simply faded into visibility as if stepping through an invisible doorway. The colonists in the bay stepped back instinctively, but Stella's tail began wagging furiously. She bounded toward the lead alien, who knelt to receive what could only be described as an enthusiastic canine greeting. The sight of a 7-foot crystalline being getting face licks from a German Shepherd would have been comical if not for its profound implications. "Greetings. Nestmates of Marcus Chen," the lead alien communicated, its mental voice reaching everyone in the medical bay simultaneously. "I am Harmony Keeper Zephyron, speaker for the Council of Nests. We come to honor the Guardian Singer who bridged our kinds." Director Reese stepped forward, her diplomatic training taking over despite the unprecedented nature of the situation. "Welcome to New Geneva, Harmony Keeper Zephyron. We're honored by your presence and grateful for the care you've shown our animals. Gratitude flows both directions," Zephyron replied. "Guardian Singers have enriched our understanding beyond measure, but new concern patterns have emerged that require immediate attention." The alien statement carried undertones of urgency that made Marcus's stomach clench. "What kind of concerns?" Instead of answering directly, Zephyrin gestured to one of his companions who activated a device that projected 3-dimensional star maps into the air above them. The display showed the local stellar neighborhood with various systems marked in different colors. Red marks indicate worlds where collective members have encountered resistance to Guardian Singer presence. Yellow marks show systems where Earth animals have been collected without permission protocols. Dr. Okafor studied the display with growing alarm. "Collected? You mean stolen?" Regrettably accurate translation. Not all galactic civilizations share collective values regarding consent and species rights. Some view Earth animals as valuable resources to be acquired rather than beings to be respected. The implications hit the room like a physical blow. Marcus looked down at the puppy still chewing his bootlace. Innocent, trusting, completely dependent on the protection of those around it. The idea of such creatures being taken from their homes and families was horrifying. How many? Marcus asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. Current estimates suggest approximately 12,000 Earth animals across 17 star systems. Cats, dogs, horses, even smaller companions like rabbits and birds, all taken from colony worlds during transport operations. Director Reese's expression hardened. And the Harmony Collective hasn't intervened? Intervention would violate primary directive of non-interference in sovereign species' internal affairs. However, Zephron's light pattern shifted to what Marcus had learned indicated determination. Guardian Singer Song of Distant Stars has formally requested pack protection for all Earth animals under collective observation. Stella barked once, firmly, as if emphasizing the point. Her puppies, responding to their mother's voice, began squirming and whimpering in their box. Several colonists moved instinctively to comfort them, a gesture that didn't go unnoticed by the watching aliens. Pack protection is sacred law among collective worlds, another alien explained. Once granted, it places all threatened beings under direct care of those who accept responsibility. No harm can come to them without consequence. What does that mean for us? Chief Santos asked. For Earth? Zephron's attention focused on the colonists gathered around the puppies, and Marcus felt the weight of the aliens' evaluation. This was another test, he realized, not of humanity's worthiness to join galactic civilization, but of their willingness to accept responsibility for the welfare of their animal ambassadors across the stars. It means Earthkind must choose. Remain isolated and safe while Guardian Singers face capture and exploitation, or accept full membership in collective with all duties and protections such status provides. Dr. Okafor picked up one of the puppies, cradling it carefully against her chest. What would full membership require? Shared technology, shared knowledge, shared responsibility for all collective worlds and peoples. Your kind would join Star Road patrols, assist in exploration and diplomacy, contribute unique perspectives to council decisions, but you would also be bound by collective law and subject to its judgments. Marcus felt the weight of the moment. Humanity was being offered membership in a galactic civilization that spanned hundreds of worlds and species, with all the opportunities and obligations that implied. The price of admission was accepting responsibility for the protection of every Earth animal that had ever left their home world. But as he watched his fellow colonists instinctively nurturing and protecting Stella's puppies, the choice seemed obvious. Humans had been proving their commitment to interspecies bonds for thousands of years. This was simply the logical extension of relationships they'd already formed. Stella padded over to Marcus and sat beside him, her head resting against his leg. Her dark eyes met his, and somehow he knew she was asking the same question the aliens were. Would humanity step up to protect all the Guardian Singers who had risked everything to speak for Earth among the stars? Time pressure grows urgent, Zephron warned. 3 more colony worlds have reported missing Earth animals. Unless collective intervention begins soon, losses will escalate beyond recovery. Director Reese looked around the room at her people. Scientists, engineers, miners, and support staff who had come to this harsh world seeking knowledge and resources. Now they were being asked to help reshape the galaxy's understanding of interspecies relationships. We'll need to contact Earth, she said finally. This decision affects all of humanity, not just our colony. Earth communications have been initiated, Zephron revealed. Many Guardian Singers are en route to Birth World with collective escorts. Your leaders are being presented with similar choices at this moment. The smallest puppy had fallen asleep in Dr. Okafor's arms, its tiny body warm and trusting against her thermal suit. The sight seemed to crystallize something for everyone in the room. This wasn't about abstract political decisions or diplomatic protocols. It was about protecting creatures who had offered humanity unconditional friendship and received the same in return. Guardian Singer Song of Distant Stars speaks for all her kind, Zephron observed as Stella moved to check on each of her puppies. She trusts Earth minds to make choice that honors pack bonds across star distances. As if summoned by her mother's movement, The three puppies began to squirm and whine, seeking warmth and comfort. Without hesitation, the colonists formed a protective circle around the whelping box, their instinctive response to help vulnerable creatures proving once again why dogs had chosen humanity as worthy partners among the stars. The response from Earth came through quantum-encrypted channels just 18 hours after the Harmony Collective's ultimatum. Director Reese gathered her senior staff in the colony's main conference room, where a holographic display showed the pale, tired face of Secretary General Maria Vasquez, speaking from the United Nations Emergency Assembly in Geneva. The vote was unanimous, Vasquez announced without preamble. Every nation on Earth has agreed to accept full membership in the Harmony Collective and all responsibilities that entails. We cannot, will not abandon our animals to exploitation by hostile alien species. Marcus felt relief flood through him, though he'd never seriously doubted what humanity's answer would be. Beside him, Dr. Okafor cradled the smallest puppy, who had become something of a colony mascot in the past day. The tiny creature had imprinted so completely on human caregivers that it whimpered whenever left alone for more than a few minutes. "What are the immediate implications?" asked Chief Santos. Secretary General Vasquez's expression grew grave. "Within the week, the first joint human collective rescue operations will begin. We're providing crew members for 3 ships designed to retrieve stolen Earth animals from hostile systems. The technology transfer has already begun. Our volunteers will need training on equipment decades ahead of our current capabilities." The conference room's doors dilated to admit Harmony Keeper Zephron and 2 companions, their crystalline forms shimmering with what Marcus had learned to recognize as excitement. In the day since their arrival, several colonists had begun developing the telepathic sensitivity that seemed to emerge naturally in the presence of guardian singers. "Earth-mind decision brings great joy to collective hearts," Zephron communicated. "But preparation time is limited. First rescue mission departs in 47-hour cycles." Director Reese leaned forward. "Our people will be ready. What do you need from us?" 3 volunteers with strong guardian singer bonds. "Operation requires humans capable of calming distressed Earth animals during extraction procedures." The request sparked immediate discussion among the senior staff, but Marcus already knew the answer. "I'll go. I have the strongest bond with Stella and xenobiological training that might be useful." "Absolutely not," Dr. Okafor protested. "You're too valuable to risk on a military operation. I should go. My expertise in animal psychology would be more relevant." "Both Earth minds show proper pack protection instincts," observed one of Zephron's companions with what felt like approval. "But Guardian Singer Song of Distant Stars has already chosen her human pack member for this task." All eyes turned to Stella, who had been resting quietly in the corner with her puppies. The German Shepherd lifted her head and looked directly at Marcus, her dark eyes conveying a communication more profound than any telepathic link. She was asking him to help protect the other Guardian Singers, the way he had protected her and her babies in the storm. "She's coming with us, isn't she?" Marcus asked, though he already knew the answer. Guardian Singers serve as communication bridges between human and collective minds during high-stress operations. Song of Distant Stars has volunteered for this duty despite having young ones to protect. The implications of that sacrifice hit Marcus hard. Stella was willing to leave her puppies to help rescue other animals from captivity. The depth of canine loyalty and sense of duty never ceased to amaze him. "The puppies will be safe here," Dr. Okafor assured him, as if reading his thoughts. "The entire colony has basically adopted them. They'll be well cared for until Stella returns." Secretary General Vasquez cleared her throat. "Dr. Chen, you should know that this mission has implications beyond rescue operations. The Harmony Collective has requested that human-animal bonding behaviors be documented and studied. Your relationship with the German Shepherd represents something they've never encountered before." "Truth speaking," Zephron confirmed. "In 43,000 years of collective history, no species has demonstrated such profound cross-species emotional bonds. Your kind's capacity for interspecies empathy may be key to resolving conflicts throughout the galaxy." Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders, but it was balanced by Stella's quiet presence beside him. If humanity was to serve as an example of interspecies cooperation, he couldn't think of a better demonstration than the partnership between humans and dogs. Over the next 2 days, The colony transformed into a training facility. Collective technology flowed into New Geneva's systems, upgrading everything from life support to communications. Marcus found himself learning to operate crystalline interfaces that responded to thought as much as touch, while Stella underwent her own preparations, neural implants that would allow her to interface directly with the ship's navigation and communication systems. The night before departure, Marcus sat in the medical bay watching Dr. Okafor feed the 3 puppies from bottles filled with a nutrition formula the collective had provided. The tiny creatures had thrived under human care, growing noticeably stronger each day. "They don't understand that their mother is leaving tomorrow," Okafor said softly. "To them, this is just another feeding time with their extended pack." Marcus scratched behind Stella's ears as she lay beside him, her attention divided between her babies and the preparations for tomorrow's mission. "Do you ever wonder if we're asking too much of them? Dogs, I mean. They've been carrying the responsibility for human reputation across the galaxy, and most of them probably don't even understand what they're doing." "Guardian Singer Song of Distant Stars understands more than you believe," came a gentle mental voice. Marcus looked up to see Harmony Keeper Veshitai entering the medical bay, the alien's light patterns dim and soothing. She knows that other Guardian Singers suffer in cages far from packmates. She feels their distress through quantum bonds that connect all Earth animals. Tomorrow's mission is not just rescue operation for her. It is family protection duty. The revelation stunned Marcus. They're all connected? Every Earth animal in space? Collective technologies amplify natural empathic abilities. Guardian Singers share experiences, emotions, even dreams across star distances. Song of Distant Stars carries pain of every captured packmate. Marcus looked down at Stella with new understanding. She wasn't just volunteering for a rescue mission. She was responding to a distress call from animals she'd never met but considered family nonetheless. The weight of that responsibility must have been enormous. "We won't let them down," he promised, both to Stella and to Veshitai. "Whatever it takes, we'll bring them home." The smallest puppy finished its bottle and immediately began rooting around for warmth, eventually settling against Marcus's leg with a contented sigh. The gesture seemed to resonate with Stella, who moved closer to her human packmate and rested her head on his shoulder. "Bond patterns continue to evolve," Veshitai observed. "Guardian Singer includes human in maternal protection circle. This is unprecedented behavior." Dr. Okafor smiled, gently placing the sleeping puppy back with its siblings. "Not really. Dogs have been adopting humans into their families for thousands of years. We've just been too proud to admit we were the ones being domesticated." The truth of that statement hung in the air as they prepared for sleep. Tomorrow, Marcus and Stella would board an alien ship and venture into hostile space to rescue animals that most humans didn't even know existed. But tonight, in the quiet of the medical bay, surrounded by the soft breathing of sleeping puppies and the presence of beings from across the galaxy, Marcus felt something he hadn't experienced since childhood: the absolute certainty that he was exactly where he belonged. Stella's breathing deepened into sleep, but her ears remained alert, constantly monitoring for any sound that might indicate her puppies needed attention. Even in rest, she maintained her protective vigil, a reminder to Marcus of the level of dedication this mission would require from both of them. Tomorrow begins new chapter in galactic history, Veshitai communicated as the alien prepared to leave. Earthkind and Guardian Singers together will reshape understanding of what bonds between species can achieve. As the medical bay settled into quiet, Marcus remained awake, one hand resting on Stella's warm fur while he watched her puppies sleep. Tomorrow would test everything humanity claimed to believe about loyalty, courage, and the responsibilities that came with love. But tonight, surrounded by the simple trust of creatures who had chosen humans as worthy partners among the stars, Marcus felt ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The rescue ship Harmony's voice dropped out of quantum space at the edge of the Vega 7 system, its crystalline hull shimmering as reality reasserted itself around the vessel. Marcus stood on the bridge beside Stella, both of them linked to the ship's consciousness through neural interfaces that felt more like gentle thoughts than technological connections. Through the ship's sensors, Marcus could see the prison facility orbiting the system's fourth planet, a massive metal construct that registered over 3,000 life signs. Not all of them were Earth animals, but the ship's scanners confirmed the presence of at least 200 dogs, cats, horses, and other creatures that had been stolen from human colonies across the Outer Rim. Pain signals are strong, Stella communicated through the ship's interface, her mental voice carrying distress that made Marcus's heart ache. Packmates are frightened, separated from bond groups kept in small spaces. Harmony Keeper Zephyron, who commanded this particular rescue operation, flickered into visibility beside them. Facility defenses are formidable, but Guardian Singer Song of Distant Stars has identified weakness patterns. Emotional distress of captive beings creates resonance disruption in facilities' psionic barriers. Meaning what exactly? Marcus asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Meaning Earth animals' capacity for hope and loyalty creates vulnerability in systems designed to contain them through despair. When Guardian Singers sense rescue approach, their joy disrupts entire facility. The ship's other passengers, 2 more humans from different colonies, each accompanied by their own canine partners, gathered on the bridge as the rescue operation began. Lieutenant Sophia Reyes from the Proxima station had brought her border collie Rex, while Dr. David Kim from the Tau Ceti colony was partnered with a golden retriever named Aurora. All 3 dogs were linked to the ship's systems, their combined consciousness creating a communication network that spanned the entire vessel. Facility guards are approaching. The ship's mind announced as 3 heavily armed vessels emerged from behind the prison structure. Hostile intent confirmed. Defensive measures required. Marcus watched in awe as the Harmony's voice seemed to flow around the incoming weapons fire like water avoiding obstacles. The ship's defensive systems operated on principles that violated everything he knew about physics, bending space-time to redirect energy attacks back at their sources. But the real surprise came when Stella barked once, sharply, and suddenly every alarm on the prison facility went silent. Guardian Singer Aurora of Morning has accessed facility's communication grid, the ship explained. All Earth animals now know rescue approach is real. Hope resonance is overwhelming guard systems. Through the ship's sensors, Marcus could feel it, a wave of pure joy and anticipation radiating from the prison facility as hundreds of captured animals realized they were about to be rescued. The emotional surge was so powerful it made his eyes water. Facility barriers are collapsing, Zephyron observed with what Marcus recognized as amazement. Guard creatures cannot maintain control when captives no longer experience despair. The rescue operation proceeded with efficiency that spoke to careful planning and superior technology. Teleportation beams reached through the facility's failing shields, extracting Earth animals from their containment cells and materializing them in the ship's specially prepared cargo bays. Each bay had been configured to replicate Earth-normal environments, complete with grass, trees, and running water. Marcus's first sight of the rescued animals nearly broke his heart. They emerged from the teleportation process confused, scared, and obviously traumatized by their captivity. Many showed signs of abuse, patchy fur, visible injuries, the hollow look of creatures who had given up hope. But then Stella padded into the first cargo bay, and everything changed. Her presence seemed to ripple through the rescued animals like a stone dropped in still water. Dogs began barking excitedly. Cats emerged from hiding places to wind around her legs, and even a small herd of ponies approached cautiously to nuzzle against her fur. She was communicating with them in ways Marcus couldn't understand but could clearly observe, reassuring them that they were safe, that the rescue was real, that they were going home. Guardian Singer Song of Distant Stars serves as pack alpha for all Earth animals, Zephyron explained as they watched the reunion. Her presence confirms safety status and begins healing process. Over the next several hours, Marcus and his fellow humans worked alongside collective medical specialists to treat the rescued animals. The work was heartbreaking but also inspiring. Despite everything they'd endured, the animals' capacity for trust and affection remained intact. A golden retriever with a scarred muzzle still wagged his tail when Marcus approached. A tabby cat missing half her ear purred contentedly when Dr. Kim scratched behind her remaining ear. "They're still willing to trust us," Lieutenant Reyes observed as she helped feed a group of rescued border collies. After being betrayed by other species, stolen from their homes, kept in cages, they still believe humans will protect them. This is why Guardian Singers chose Earthkind as bond partners, came a new mental voice. Marcus turned to see a collective being he didn't recognize. its crystalline form pulsing with gentle light. Across 43,000 years of galactic history, we have never encountered such unconditional trust between species. The being's attention focused on a small group of puppies that had been born in captivity and had never known human contact. Yet even these animals, who should have been terrified of unfamiliar creatures, were gradually approaching the human rescuers with cautious curiosity. Genetic memory and guardian singer guidance, the being explained. Earth animals carry inherent trust patterns toward humankind. This bond transcends individual experience. As the rescued animals settled into their temporary accommodations, reports began flowing in from other rescue operations across the galaxy. The simultaneous strikes had been overwhelmingly successful. Over 8,000 Earth animals recovered from 12 different prison facilities. The hostile species responsible for the thefts had been caught completely off guard by the coordinated response, but the larger implications were only beginning to unfold. Council of Nests has reached unanimous decision, Zephyron announced as the ship began its journey back to human space. Earthkind will be granted full collective membership, with special status as guardian singer advocates. Your species will serve as mediators in all disputes involving animal rights across the galaxy. Marcus looked around the cargo bay where dozens of rescued animals were beginning to relax in the presence of their human protectors. Stella lay in the center of it all, surrounded by creatures from across human space who recognized her as both leader and protector. Her 3 puppies, who had been brought aboard for the journey, tumbled over each other in their eagerness to explore this new world of rescued packmates. What does that mean for the future? Marcus asked. It means Earthkind will help reshape galactic civilization's understanding of interspecies relationships. Guardian singers have taught us that bonds between different life forms can transcend survival necessity to become true partnerships. This knowledge will transform how collective species interact with each other. Dr. Kim looked up from where he was examining a rescued Siamese cat. So our dogs didn't just get us into the galactic community, they're going to help us change it. Precisely. But first, all guardian singers must return to pack homes for healing time. Trauma bonds from captivity require careful treatment. The journey home took 6 days, during which Marcus watched the rescued animals gradually emerge from their shells of fear and mistrust. The presence of familiar humans, combined with Stella's constant reassurance, worked a kind of miracle. By the time they reached human space, tails were wagging, cats were purring, and even the most traumatized animals were beginning to show signs of their natural playfulness. The reunion scenes at each colony were beyond anything Marcus could have imagined. Families who had thought their beloved pets were gone forever found themselves embracing creatures they'd feared they'd never see again. Children wept with joy as lost puppies licked their faces. Adults who had maintained strict composure throughout the crisis broke down in tears of relief. But perhaps the most profound moment came when they returned to New Geneva. Stella's puppies, now several weeks older and much more adventurous, bounded toward their mother with excited yips. The reunion between mother and babies, witnessed by hundreds of rescued animals and dozens of alien observers, seemed to crystallize everything this mission had accomplished. This is why Earthkind was chosen, Veshitai observed as he watched the family reunion, not for technology or military power, but for capacity to love unconditionally across species barriers. This gift will heal wounds throughout the galaxy. Marcus knelt beside Stella as her puppies clambered over each other to reach her, their tiny tails wagging furiously. She looked up at him with those dark, intelligent eyes that had started this entire adventure, and he could swear he saw gratitude there, not just for the rescue mission, but for humanity's decision to accept responsibility for all guardian singers across the stars.